everybody? Welcome to Sixers post-game live. Sixers get the W 119-115, upsetting the Celtics without Embiid in game one. Oh my gosh, so much to talk about. James freaking Harden abusing Al Horford. The Sixers abusing Al Horford again and again and again. You hate to see it. Joining me, my man Tiago at TiagoPHL on Twitter. What is up, Tiago?
What is up is James Harden's best postseason game ever. I mean, I don't know enough about to go back in time and see how well he played with OKC and Houston, but this is right up there as an all-time James Harden postseason game, right in the face of the Boston Celtics fans who have to sit back and wonder, what do we do now? What do we do now?
You could sense like that, third, fourth quarter, Celtics fans were sitting with the hands on their ass, in the stands. They were getting a little nervous. Also joining us at Sean_Bernard1. Go follow Pick Swap Media. What's going on, Sean?
I'm stunned. I'm blown away by what I just saw. I could not be happier. We've never been more right about a player than we were about Paul Reed. Those 4 free throws, by the way, huge.
Let's go.
Just everything clicked. I can't believe I really just can't believe what I just watched, but I'm so thrilled. This changes a ton for the Sixers, for everything. Still one without Joel, so what a game.
Where do we start from here? Some comments, guys. Keep a comment. Let us know your reaction to this. Sixers win game one. Chris says James Harden won us this game. Tracy is in the house giving a thumbs up. Chris says Maxey scared us almost with a leg injury. Steven says preemptive if we pull this out. I'm sending JoJo home for 4 days of cardio if we lose. He's going to have to play himself into shape. Quentin says Paul freaking Reed. We're going to talk about Paul Reed today because that guy in the second half was arguably the biggest reason they won, just right up there with James Harden. Chris Moore says, do you think Embiid plays game 2 or do you sit him? Any thoughts on that real quick?
I think there's the chances of him sitting definitely went up after winning this game for sure. It's been very weird just how this whole thing's been reported, what exactly is going on with the knee. I definitely think it's worse than they're letting on. So I lean toward there's a pretty good chance that he doesn't suit up for game 2. But I also am of the mindset, if he can play, you absolutely play him. It's the time to step on their necks if you can and take complete control of this series. So most of that decision is going to be made through the doctor and through Joel. But if he can play, he absolutely should. But I think the chances of him sitting went up for sure.
Yep. Any thoughts on that, Tiago?
I mean, I think Sean nailed it, man. You got a chance to put this thing away in game 2 and bring it back to nothing. We absolutely play him. I think, between an extra day of rest, if you can guarantee that he's not going to get injured playing game 2, we absolutely play him. The Boston Celtics look extremely vulnerable. This is by far the least talented Celtics team the Sixers will face in the playoffs in the Embiid era. So it's time, man. It's time to put this team away.
I agree. I think there are things that the Sixers found in this game, and credit to Doc Rivers for. And I don't do it a lot, but he switched his own defenses frequently, I think, and most notably attacked Al Horford on nearly every possession, at least down the stretch. They switched on Al Horford, and really that was that's the take, right, guys?
He looks old. He looked old finally.
Yeah.
Yes. Finally. And he missed a wide open 3 at the end.
Yeah.
I thought he get a big crucial offensive board there in crunch time. But let's talk about James freaking Harden. I'm going to share his shot chart. What did he have in this game? Here's his shot chart. Isn't that thing of beauty?
Gorgeous.
This guy coming into this thing, he had to step up in game 1 because against the Nets, man, he was 7 of 29 from inside the paint in round 1. His playmaking was very good, but he wasn't getting it done inside the paint. The lift was not great, to say the least. But what a dominant performance by James Harden, again and again and again, hitting huge shots. That shot he hit over Al Horford was massive. James Harden finished with 45 points, 7 of 14 from three-point range, 17 of 30 from the floor, 6 assists. I'll throw it to you, Sean. What's the take on James?
Yeah, I mean, my position on James Harden coming into these playoffs, I didn't think there would be any, there should not be any blank check written or full game plan, and how he plays throughout these playoffs. It should dictate what the future game plan is. I can't ask for anything more than what he just did and put forth. I mean, they needed every single point that he gave them, and taking control, the way he manipulated the game. Just I really didn't know that he had that left in the tank, and he absolutely put it on display. Having the stones to take it, the ability to make it with the big shots at the end, and he did it throughout the full game. Starting off right in the first quarter with a quick 16 points, and it was smooth sailing from there. So I'm hyped that he has that. I'm still pretty stunned. I really didn't expect that, if I'm being real, but I'm thrilled that he still was able to get it done.
It was a consistent game too. Like
Yeah.
James Harden was pretty good first half to second half. Sometimes we see him kind of disappear, but he was 9 of 14 from the floor in the first half. In the second half, 8 of 16. Thiago, what was your take?
Chris, people are going to show that game winner as they should, because that was incredible. James Harden shredded Boston in the pick and roll. It was an absolute destruction of Boston's defense. I didn't think he had that in him, to be honest with you, based on what we saw against Brooklyn. He got to anywhere he wanted on the court tonight. Use his strength, use his size, hit shots like he showed on the chart itself from every point of the court. And when Boston tried to switch up their defense, he found Paul Reed on multiple occasions under the rim. Boston's weak side defense around the rim is atrocious. They gave up easy layups, easy rim rolls. It was a mess. Generated wide open 3-point shots for Melton, for Tobias. It was a Harden masterclass. It almost looked like Boston didn't even scout for him. It's almost like they forgot him on the scouting report. I don't know how you can go into that game and I think Harden is going to be a major role into the Sixers offense. He was sensational. I mean, this James Harden is exactly what the Sixers wanted in the postseason. They get this guy. The Sixers are a championship level team. There's no questions.
It's amazing, man. Barry Green says B-Ball Paul wins the game. We're going to be talking about Paul Reed next here. Chris says the reason we win games in this series will be because we didn't let any of the Celtics get hot scoring. Tatum was hot, man. I thought the Celtics threw everything at the Sixers in that first half, and somehow the Sixers were still in it. That was my take. Quentin wants to play Embiid. If he's not 100%, you can decoy Embiid like Butler. Part of me wants to just say, Embiid, just rim protect.
Yeah.
Game
Stand
2.
there.
And just stand there, and the Sixers might be okay. Just don't overdo it. Just put the fear of God in the Celtics players' heads, and just rim protect and get them away from the paint, because that was the take in the first half. The Celtics were getting whatever they wanted: backdoor, open lanes, cuts to the basket, wide open layups, and then the second half goes down, and B-Ball Paul in the second half, his defense was absolutely electric. The Boston Celtics were 20 of 24, 25 inside the paint in the first half. In the second half, the Celtics were 13 of 22. That flipped significantly. There's a lot of reasons for that, and we're going to talk about that. But B-Ball Paul was everywhere, hitting 4 crucial free throws that got them the W, playing smothering defense from Boston's cutters. I'll throw it to you, Thiago. Take on B-Ball Paul's game tonight.
Yeah, I thought one key change in the fourth quarter, and this goes back to Doc Rivers, who had a sensational game. I thought Doc Rivers was sensational today around multiple levels. But I thought with 5 minutes left in the game, right after that transition bucket where PJ Tucker hit Tatum in the nuts, he called he brought Paul Reed back into the game with 5 minutes left. And I thought that was a key stretch in the game where the Sixers again regained their defensive composure and got some key rebounds. There was some up and down possessions. And Paul Reed, man, hit some monstrous free throws down the stretch.
Yeah.
4-4. Absolutely nothing but net with the game on the line. It was sensational. I thought Paul Reed had a up and down game for the most part. I thought as a rim protector, they were asked to do a lot of him, stretched into the absolute maximum defensively. But he wasn't fouling a lot, which is a positive sign. He won a lot of possessions for the Sixers as a rim protector, as a help defender. So overall, a very, very positive Paul Reed game. But again, it goes back to Doc Rivers, who trusted him, man. Needed him in the fourth quarter, and he went to him. Was huge.
And yeah, Paul Reed was a big part of that pick and roll with James Harden, man. The Celtics clearly have no answer for that, and that's a big storyline heading into game 2 here, especially when we saw such a ISO heavy offense in round 1. Sean, what was your take?
Yeah, and I thought it's especially impressive considering the first half he did not look that good, and it didn't look like he fully found his stride. So to be able to wake up from that, overcome it, and have a dominant second half is huge. Those 4 free throws at the end, I just can't get over. Like we're talking about a guy who was out of the rotation for a decent chunk of this year, and he is stepping to center stage at an away playoff game, hitting 4 crucial free throws for the team. So Paul Reed is built for it 100%. I thought it was a nice job from James Harden to consciously get him involved too. There was the first bucket I remember him getting was one right under the basket on the baseline where he had to do kind of an up and under finish. It looked like Paul wasn't ready to get the ball, but he got it and found a way. And I think he started to feel it from there. So shout out to Paul Reed for sticking with it, finding a way. They need him. He's necessary to this team. He's going to be a key part of the rest of this series, the rest of this run. So shout out Paul Reed for answering the call tonight for sure.
I feel like we're saying that a lot in the playoffs.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Playing time, Chris. Playing time. And
Yep.
you know what? When he struggled, he went back to him. He didn't go to Harrell. When the small unit lineup struggled, he went back to Paul Reed, which is what you want from Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
Chris Moore says Maxey will need to be better in game 2. We're going to talk about Maxey next. Maxey stole the show, reminded me of an old Larry Bird highlight. Interesting. Joe says great defense in the second half, and Paul Reed's huge free throws to seal it. MVP players take the last shot in big games. I'm looking at you, Giannis. Absolutely. B-Ball Paul, 10 points, 13 boards, 4 straight free throws, steal block at the end. Let Embiid rest, says Barry. We've got Medium Giant in the house. Let's go. Thanks for joining.
But here's the thing, Chris. Chris. Like, if Embiid comes back, you got to lean into that pick and roll offense.
Yes.
There's a lot of isolation with Joel. And granted, Joel's a fantastic isolation player. I'm not saying entirely eliminate that from his game, but man, there was a lot of easy looks for Paul Reed, man. Make the game come to you. Make it easier on you. Don't have to take it on every single time. So,
and I think one of my biggest takeaways from the opening round and watching the Celtics-Hawks series where the Hawks took them to 6 games is Trae Young was having an absolute field day manipulating the pick and roll, just getting Al Horford in drop coverage. They had the lob threat with Clint Capella that they had going a lot. The Sixers don't necessarily have that, but my mind was still at like, if there's another guy who has the IQ and the ability to get this done, it is James Harden. And I'm happy he was able to put that on display tonight. And it definitely worked. And that's something that like they should not go away from. I don't think there's just a simple adjustment the Celtics can do to fix that. There's a hole in their ability in their game there. So keep hammering that and keep doing it until they prove that they can stop it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we saw as many pick and roll possessions on offense in this game than the entire Nets series combined.
Absolutely.
Paul Reed was setting like 4 or 5 a possession at one point. Yeah. Like he was just running around in it. Yeah.
And I was looking during the game. Boston gave up the second most roll man points in the NBA this playoffs, primarily against Atlanta. That number is going to go up again after tonight. They were atrocious defending the roll man. So I expect the Sixers to keep going to that well multiple times in game 2.
That's really exciting. Ryan Rowe is in the house saying Maxey will need to play more aggressive and driving to the paint. I thought he had several nice drives in the lane, floaters, off the backboard shots. Chris says now they will need to adapt to any Celtics adjustments in game 2. We'll go to that after we talk about Tyrese Maxey. Quentin says, I said Doc would need an all-time performance to beat Boston. He delivered. Absolutely.
Yeah. Coach circles around Joe Mazzulla. Coach circles around him.
Yeah, he did.
Amazing. Here we are, man. It's amazing. B-Ball Paul averaged 44+% from three-point land in the G League. He can be a 3-and-D guy, not just a backup center. That's just not. That hasn't.
How many attempts per game is that 44%? Like half an attempt per game.
We haven't seen that in 2 years, man. I hear you, Barry. I hear you. But if you watch us here, we've been calling that out for a while. Quentin says, shout out to Harden for passing to Paul in crunch time. Do you play Embiid with Paul? They should have done that during the regular season, but they're not now. Steven says, absolutely. If they practice it, probably not happen. Wouldn't that be fun? Like, see Doc Rivers pull that out of his ass and go, you know what? Twin Towers, Paul Reed, Joel Embiid, time's yours, Boston. That would be so fun.
I mean, I think we'll see the Celtics roll out. I don't think they did it much, if at all, tonight. For a little bit they did, but the Al Horford and Robert Williams on the court together. So if you're trying to answer that and they're killing us on the boards, why not? Like that should have been something that the Sixers have tried all season, and there may be some situations that call for it. And especially when Joel comes back, I'm going to guess that rebounding is going to be an area that takes a hit if he's not 100%.
Yeah.
He's not going to be getting all physical for boards. So toss Paul Reed out there. He'll get the job done. He'll do his thing. He'll be Paul Reed.
Yep.
Steven says Jason Tatum always finds a way to be their second best player.
Chris, nobody's gonna mention this because the guy almost scored 38 points. Whatever. Go back and look to that Maxey steal possession. The guy didn't even make an effort on the ball. I mean, this is the game on the line. Granted, it wasn't a great pass, but he literally stops playing. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? If this was in Philadelphia, you would have gotten murdered for this.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely absurd. And nobody's going to say anything about it.
I can't believe that pass still.
That pass is absurd.
Just giving it to it.
Yeah, that possession looked like something Doc Rivers would throw in. But anyway, I can't believe it happened. Joe says, thought Melton was big in the second quarter. Barry says Bebo Paul attempted 4 3-point shots a game in the G League. Look it up. Sixers would be smart if to rest Embiid until we come home to Philly. I don't know, man. This is the playoffs. There's not many games. I want to keep the momentum on the Sixers side. Pedro says, cheers from Brazil.
Yes.
What's going on, Brazil? What's going on, man? Thanks for joining. Twin Towers do it. Send Reed to defend the perimeter instead of Embiid on the pick and roll. Let's jump into Tyrese Maxey in this one. Let me share my screen. I'm going to just talk about Tyrese because this was another huge area to watch in this one. In 4 games against the Celtics, he averaged just 10 points, 3 of 14 from 3 against the Celtics on the season. And we all know how good of a shooter Tyrese Maxey is. In the game, he still struggled a bit shooting 10 of 24 from the floor, 2 of 9 from 3. He did have 26 points, team leading plus 12. And most importantly, Tyrese Maxey shot 7 of 16 in the second half. So he made several big buckets when they needed it. Not efficient, but they got it done. I'll throw it to you, Thiago, first. What was your take on Tyrese Maxey tonight?
Yeah, up and down game. I thought in the third quarter he was very, very important. I thought Harden has stopped being aggressive, and I thought Maxey at that point in time took over the game for the Sixers. Fourth quarter, man, it's a different game, and I think he was settling a lot on the perimeter. He took some open shots and just naturally missed, which is fine, but a lot of off-balance stuff, a lot of stuff leaning away from the rim. Great, man. Boston is tough, man. Boston is going to be tough on him because they have guys who can stick with him and push him out of spots. You watch Derek White, you watch Marcus Smart. They're extremely tough defenders, man. So I just think you have to live with these type of Maxey games. And if you look at the entire picture of tonight, I thought he was overall very positive for the Sixers, particularly in that third quarter. So, yeah, people were going to focus on that fourth quarter, but big picture, I mean, the Sixers don't even come close to winning this game tonight without Tyrese Maxey. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, overall, I thought he was good. It wasn't perfect. There was definitely stuff to nitpick and not the most efficient. He had moments where he did not play up to it. Some of the shot selection I didn't love, but he answered the call for what they needed. And really what Tyrese Maxey always brings to the Sixers team is just that one like game-changing spark over the course of a game. And he still brought that tonight. He brought that in the third quarter. He had a little run of his own where a couple of those finishes, the high up the glass, were super impressive too. So those aren't easy shots. Yeah, the Boston made life tough for him, and he still found a way to impose himself. I was a little nervous about that knee when he went down earlier. I'm happy that was nothing serious, and I hope he's all good moving forward. But yeah, he's another necessary part of this team. I loved getting him active on the break. He had a couple moments where that was a huge swing of momentum as well. So that's what he is to this team. As much as we're trying to push him into this true like third guy or a second guy tonight, what he really is a guy who can absolutely swing the momentum of the game, and that's necessary to this team.
I loved it when Boston ran out of shot clock and Tyrese Maxey stole it. Like I thought, like if you look at Tyrese Maxey's reaction, like he thought he was surprised that he had the ball and like nobody was within 20 feet of him.
So he almost stopped playing.
Yeah, it was so
like, no.
It looked like he thought the whistle was blown or something.
Yeah, but he did the right thing, thank God.
Yeah.
Steven says Maxey seems to have that extra lift on his finishes. All right, let's go to real quick. D'Anthony Melton had some huge moments in this game.
Yeah.
Melton is shooting, get this, including round 1 and tonight, 48+% from 3 in the playoffs. That's not bad. Sean, what was your take on D'Anthony Melton?
Yeah, especially early on that first quarter, he was huge to this team. That's when Maxey struggled to find his footing at the beginning, and Melton answered that call. They're a nice little pairing as far as like figuring out what the other's not doing. One of them tends to step up when they're not. We've seen that all year, and that was absolutely the case tonight. Over the ebbs and flows of this game, one of them seemed to be answering the call throughout. And shout out to Anthony Melton. He's been everything we could have hoped for and more all year. I would like to see a little more from him defensively. I thought there were moments where I don't know what it was. Sometimes it was just switching too easily where they would get James Harden. I would like to see little shakeups defensively and get Melton more involved, some more McDaniels minutes too. But overall, I thought Melton was really good. He's huge for this team, and that 3-pointer is legit. Like, I think we've continued to have a little bit of doubt in it. He just answers and hits again, and he's been red hot of late.
Yep. Thiago?
Yeah, I wrote here on my notes, like in the first quarter, I thought that the game was moving way too fast for the Sixers, and I thought that big part of that was because Embiid wasn't there. So what Embiid's able to do is get to the free throw line, hit free throws, slow the game down, set the Sixers defense. And I thought where the game started to turn was where Melton came into the game and just started to hit shots.
Mm-hmm.
And when he started to hit shots, you could just see the game slow down. I think he hit 3 catch-and-shoot threes in the second quarter. He also had another drive by Horford and got to the rim. And I thought that was one of the key turning points of the game because the parade to the rim stopped for Boston. Sixers started getting set on defense, and everything just from that point on, with them also playing zone, which is also a huge thing for the Sixers tonight. Those two things are massive for Philly. So, yeah, Melton's not going to give you the 35 points, 40 points like Harden did, but I thought that his presence, particularly in the second quarter, was absolutely crucial for the Sixers tonight. So, yeah, he was probably their third best player tonight, no question.
Mm-hmm.
You're on mute, Chris. You're on mute.
My bad. I'm back. Maxey played great in stretches in the second half. He was settling for threes. How great was that defensive possession? Everyone on Boston passing up shots. Yeah. Looked like a bunch of PJ Tuckers and Toby's out there. Quinn says, I still don't believe Doc, but I would be happy to be wrong. Agreed about Melton. Melton catch and shoot only. Absolutely agree. And Kumar says, I still have no faith in Harden step backs, man. Chris, I just want to play. Yeah, Thiago, before I play a video here.
You just know he's going to go 1 for 10 next game. So
yeah. This is pretty cool. Check this out.
They're still in mourning here. The Bruins lost 1.
I like
James
that.
Harden kicking his team off the court, saying it's just one game as they celebrate. How badass is that?
That man is allowed to go to Vegas whenever he wants to. He has a free pass whenever. He's very clearly as locked in as I've ever seen him. All that much to do about nothing. Shout out James Harden.
And you know the Philly Sports Radio had that loaded up for tomorrow if he struggled. I mean, if he went 3 for 15 tonight, Sports Radio would have been all over that Vegas trip talking about, this or that. Yeah, he lived up, man. He lived up to the hype. I didn't see this coming, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to be a struggle for him tonight.
Yeah, me too, man.
My jaw just dropped.
Yeah, he was making some big shots, man. Making some nice passes. And I'm not gonna call out any ESPN shows, but they were dogging the Sixers before this game.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, all right. Let's go into player of the game. Lead us off, Sean. Who's your player of the game?
I hate to just run away with the layup right off the rip, but I can't let James Harden slip through 1-1 here. I mean, start to finish, the most important player on the floor for the Sixers. They needed every point that he gave them. He was in control from the second that game started. It was clear he played with a purpose from the second that game started, which was great to see. And he played like a guy who still has a a lot to prove, which is awesome. The Sixers aren't going to make a legit run without him being that type of player. He answered it tonight, far away below or above my expectations. So shout out James Harden, for sure, player of the game for me.
Yep. No entry says Harden mid game was crazy. A lot less layups. What about you, Tiago?
Chris, I don't do this often.
Wow.
I give my shout out to Doc Rivers tonight, man. I just have to. This may be the first and only time I ever do this on this podcast. I think so much that goes into beating Boston is just doing the basic common sense stuff. And I thought that Doc Rivers hit on every note. Yeah, you can say maybe Niang on the court a little bit too much was an overdone, but I just think that overall, man, you have the talent. Just lean on the talent. Put the best players on the court. And I thought that he did that for the entire game tonight. He had some nice change-ups, the zone.
Yeah.
They got to figure out the defense on Tatum a little bit better. But, yeah, man, I mean, the Sixers get this type of Doc Rivers, man. I'm going to have to issue an apology article because that's what you need, man. So good for him. Good for him. Good for him. Happy for him.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with Quentin here. B-Ball Paul is my player of the game. His defense was crucial, especially when there was literally no defense in the first half. Really impressed by B-Ball Paul, contesting shots in the paint, doing all the little things like he always does. His rebounding was just night and day, like from the first half to the second half as well. Blue City Empire Sports saying, let's go. And then Barry says, crap, we won't be able to fire Doc after this year.
Not a Jay Wright guy.
Oh, man. Let's get through this. All right. Let's wrap it up. Final thoughts, Tiago. Do the Sixers take game 2? What do they do with Embiid? Where can we find him, man?
I don't think the Sixers have to worry about taking game 2 because I think they're going to play Boston game 3 on Friday. Game 4 is on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a wild Philadelphia home court advantage, these game 3 and game 4. So, yeah, I mean, if they can take game 2 is great. I think Boston is in for an absolute mess of a game 3 and game 4. I think if the Sixers come out in those 2 games and focus, they'll be up 3-1 in the series. But I think Boston is entirely beatable. I think the Sixers have their best chance not only to beat them, but to go to an NBA Finals. And if Joel comes back, even at 75 to 80%, I think they're well on their way of doing that. So, yeah, I think that's the path, man. That is the path. Gotta get Joel back, though.
Yeah. Celtics shot 8 of 14 in the first half. They gave the Sixers hell, and the Sixers just kept making shots, and they hung around. And we've seen this from the Sixers before, man. Sean, final thoughts on the W.
Yeah, I'm still pretty. It hasn't fully set on me. I'm still excited and blown away from that. I'm gonna be back to playing internet doctor, trying to figure out Joel's status right away. We'll see what's going on, but the job's kind of accomplished. If you can split 1 out of 2 and walk away in Boston, you're pretty satisfied with that. So obviously, winning a second game and going up 2-0 would be even better. And if Joel can go and give you your best chance of that, you definitely take it. But winning tonight's huge. That changes the whole outlook for this series and for this playoffs. I really do think the team that has the team that wins the series out of the Sixers and Celtics has a very clear path to the finals and even to win an NBA championship. I think there's a real argument that these are the top 2 teams left in the NBA. So Sixers just 3 more wins and let's get it done.
Can we just enjoy it that Paul Reed played 37 plus minutes in a round 2 game and was a +8?
Hit 4 free throws with the game on the line.
They foul out with 5 minutes into the game. So
yeah,
how many
positive?
How many Call of Duty matches did Ben Simmons win tonight? That's the question. That's what we need to know.
Apology tour for what? Hey man, guy's there to win a championship, man. That's why he's there. So
yeah, look, there are coaches left in these playoffs better than Doc Rivers. Joe Mazzulla is not one of them, and that's where we're at for this series. Doc Rivers, I'm very impressed with him tonight, and this is another example of the Doc Rivers when he's down players manages to make his best decisions and coaches way harder. We saw it once again tonight and got the job done.
I just feel really good about how they won tonight. That's the thing, is that they won with pick and roll. They kept with it. That James Harden, as it has all playoffs. James Harden, Paul Reed, pick and roll. Just continue with it. We didn't see a lot of it in round one, even though it was really effective when they did it. And if this is a sign of what to expect moving forward into game two, we'll see. How does Boston adjust? It's not going to be Horford because that guy's cooked.
Yeah.
So
I do think their adjustment is Robert Williams. I thought they were Robert Williams in there. He definitely altered the landscape defensively for Boston. Like you said, Chris, Al Horford is cooked defensively. But Robert Williams is a difference maker. So I think they'll go to him more. And I also think that Boston, like, they love to go small. And when Paul Reed is out there, they can't take the same advantages when Joel is out there because Paul Reed will meet Al Horford out of the three-point line. So you didn't see Al have the same impact as a shooter tonight. So, yeah, that's why Paul Reed is so important, man. That's why you needed to play him this season, and they've done that. So,
Yep. Steven says Horford may be done. Quinn says I might have to buy a few Paul Reed out of the mud hoodies. It's amazing. All right. Sean, where can we find you, man? What do you got going on at Pick Swap Media, Fox Sports, The Gambit?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. I was firing off several, as many takes as I could get throughout that game tonight. So it'd be entertaining scroll through there. You can check me out on Pick Swap Media. I'll be dropping a podcast tomorrow with my co-host James. I'll also be on Fox 1025 somewhere between 3 and 6 tomorrow. So I'll be hopping on for about a half hour to talk about this and all other things NBA. So make sure to check that out.
Awesome. Best Sixers twat. Those guys are the best Sixers Twitter followers, period. Tiago, where can we find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me at Tiago PHL on Twitter. It's all trending positive. So when the Sixers are winning, they're positive tweets. When the Sixers are losing, I go in hard on the team. So
where's your boy tonight? And I'm really upset he's not in the comments. Boston super fan.
Heidi, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
I wouldn't come out after tonight if after tonight.
Not the same Sixers, not the same Celtics. I'm sure Tatum will get MVP next year or something like that. So.
All right, guys.
We already got the man B-Ball Paul with the Sixers playoff win out the mud. Perfect time to copy a hoodie.
Marketing's on point.
All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, everyone, for commenting. Sixers go up 1-0 over the Boston Celtics. Can't believe it. We will see you for game 2. As always, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, comment what was your reaction to the game. For Tiago, for Sean, for myself. Stay awesome, everyone.